Oh, Shema Israel, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah Echad. Oh, Shema Israel.
Shalom, Mishpachah, and welcome to another episode of Wake Up Yasharel. Again, I am your host, Modern Day Moses, and I have some more revelation for you. There's no specific topic necessarily for this one. This is again, one of my older Zoom broadcasts where I titled it Revelation of Genesis because that's just what it was. Kind of a play on words, yes, but I ended up just studying some books, some chapters in the book of Revelation, in the book of Genesis, rather, excuse me, and got some revelation from it and decided to share with it in my older Zoom Shabbat service that I used to host. And now I'm rebroadcasting it, hoping that you benefit as much as we all did. So many blessings, Baruch Atah. I hope that you receive something from it. Don't forget to, as I've never said before, and I'm reminded, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So that you can be notified when new broadcasts come out. All right, so be blessed now. Hope you enjoy. All right, faithful administrator. Thank you for being on point today. Um, like in the Periscope days. Um, yeah, I believe, according to what I've read, that if you, well, one thing, let me also say this: as a babe, if someone just reading a word, they say, okay, let me start at the front of the book, not knowing any better, just makes Western logical sense to start at the front of a book, any book. And that's how you read the story. You go from the front to the back, thinking that things are happening in chronological order. That if you start in the middle, you won't understand what you need to because you need to read at the front of the story. As we know, that is not the case with the Bible. Not only are things not in chronological order, um, yeah, that's the main thing. They're not in chronological order. Um, and so, not even go to a rabbit hole about that, but I'm just learning so much about the original formation, who has had their hand on it, who has uh, I don't want to say damage, but in a sense damage, but just the alteration. Thank you, Holy Spirit. The changes that have taken place because of who has had their hand on the scriptures and what their intent was. Sometimes I would say benefit of the doubt. Sometimes it was straight up malicious intent, the intent to deceive, the intent to hide, to conceal, the intent to oppress, uh, to maintain an increase in power. It's sometimes maybe the intent to do Yahuwah's work, but just within the wrong manner. Um, so I'm just learning so much about that. So with that being said, I realized I'm being able to. First off, I've realized that 66 books is actually not complete. The scriptures themselves is not just 66. Um, if I'm correct, the original, well, the Ethiopian Bible, which is considered the most accurate uh, version, from the manuscripts themselves, I want to say it's either 84 or 88 books long. So you have the canonized books that the Catholic Church took it upon themselves to see fit. Then you have the Apocrypha that compile the entire word of Yahuwah to the point where even when I'm saying the word of Yahuwah, uh, I'll say Bible by habit, but the Bible is not even always what I'm talking about when I'm saying His word, because I know His word extends beyond what we call the Bible today. So yes, the revelation in Genesis. So we're starting from Genesis. All right, chapter 29. Right? Let me see. Yeah, chapter 29 says, Then Jacob went on his journey. So I'm sorry. I don't want to, let me interrupt myself. So we're at the point in the story where Rachel She devised, Esau and Jacob, as I mentioned last week, they were at odds with each other. Well, not really. Esau was at odds with Jacob because of the stolen birth. Not even stolen, sort of stolen, but it wasn't really his fault, in my opinion. He was being obedient. He did what Mama told him to do. She gave instructions to the child that she preferred. Um, and then when she realized that maybe it was a oops upside the head moment, like, man, I told my son to I guess and she called herself helping her husband out because the promise had already been given about the seed and what's going to happen, and he was, I guess we could say choosing the wrong son. So he's like, she's like, let me help my husband out and make sure he blesses the right one, even though Esau was the firstborn, but Jacob was one who's supposed to, who's supposed to get the stuff, get the promise, get the seed, get the covenant. Um, so he followed Mama's orders and uh, he put on some had a scent of being out in the field, had his hands covered in the costume, I'll say, that his mother made for him, so that he looked and smelled like Esau. Now, here's another part that I discovered. This is not in actually. I'm going off my study from this week, so it's not on the screen. But I thought about this. Actually, what I'll do is I will pull up the words so you all can see it for yourself. This is a little side note more so, but it's something to think about. Let's go to Genesis around 27. Oh, perfect. All right. And it came to pass when Isaac was old, his eyes were dim, and he could not see. He called Esau his eldest son and said unto him, my son. And he said unto him, behold, here am I. And he said, behold, now I am old. I know not the day of my death. Therefore, take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison, and make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, and that my soul may bless thee before I die. So it goes on, just paraphrasing for sake of time. So Rebecca heard what happened, and she was like, oh no, we're not going out like that. I'm gonna make sure he blesses the right one. So she says, hey Jacob, come here. Let me tell you what your father just decided. So, in order to avert this misdirection of blessing, I want you to go and go and do this and that so he can bless you instead. And so Jacob, he follows mama's orders, like most good children do what mama tell you to do. Even we, have suspicions about it, even we're not exactly sure it's right. But since you mama, okay, I got you. So then, verse 18, and he came unto his father and said, my father, here am I. Who art thou, my son? Now, I don't know about you, but I said, how is it? It's not like he's talking, talking in a room full of children. He has two sons, and he's only with one of them, and he raised them both. So he says, my father, and he said, here am I. Who art thou, my son? How does Isaac not know which son he's talking to? I was like, wait a minute, that don't sound right. And like I said, I've read, these scriptures a gazillion times, but things are standing out to me now that, Revelation is, because of where I am, it's easier for you to have point things out to me. I said, okay, he didn't know his son's voice. That's confusing. And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou hast badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat my venison, that thy soul may bless it. And so here's the first red flag. And Isaac said unto his son, how is it that thou hast found it so quickly? And he said, because the Lord thy God brought it to me. Now, yes, right here, that was not true. We could probably stretch it and make it to be true, given that his mother, we could say that, that Yahuwah was acting through his mother, but, that was more not true than it was true. It will really be a stretch to try to make that fit into the truth. So Isaac got a Isaac got a red flag. He said, now, because of course, he knows how all the times that Esau has gone to the field he has an idea about how long it's going to take his son to get his weapons, go out, to go to wherever he's going to go. Number one, the travel time to and from, getting the weapons together, and actually, getting a kill so that he can, and not just getting a kill. He has to do about four things. So get your weapons. Let's get a prep up. Go to where you're going to go. That's number two. Travel there. Find something to kill. That's that time. Bring it back. Return trip time. You know, prep it, cook it, and bring it to me. So just in modern day time, I'm thinking he's expecting Esau to be gone, let's say a couple of hours. And then, I won't say almost immediately, but within a half hour time, of course, I'm just guesstimating because I have no idea. Within a half hour, 45 minutes, here comes Jacob. It's like, wait a minute. For something that should take around 2 hours, how did you do in half the time? So, he should have known better. So I guess what I'm doing, I'm finding reasons to legitimate reasons, I would say, to come to Jacob's defense, because to me he gets a bad rap. It's like, yeah, his name is supplanter, and even Esau says that. Yeah, he was named right because he tricked me twice, but he didn't do it. He didn't really trick you. He didn't do it by himself. His father played a role. His father was, and both of y'all parents played a role in in the birthright not being given to you. Then he said, and Isaac said unto Jacob, come near that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. So he's having suspicions. I mean, we could go on and on about. I don't want to spend too much time on this one, but so I may have to really investigate this, do some more research. I was actually looking for it in the book of Jubilee, because I know Jubilee recounts and gives details about stories in Genesis that the KJV leaves you wondering about. Uh, but just some things have me, why wouldn't he not? One question I have is, his reason for questioning Jacob, among some other things. It's just, if paying attention to detail gives you some answers and some questions when it comes to this particular story. So he wanted to make sure that he wasn't being lied to. So Jacob went near to his father and he felt him. He says, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are of Esau. And so what I got from that, among some other things, I was like, so he had at least two red flags that something wasn't right. But because there was one thing that seemed to be right, again, he couldn't see, so he's feeling the hands, and he felt instead of feeling the actual hair on his son's hand, he felt a costume, if you will. He felt something that had been planted to make it seem, hey, Shabbat Shalom. He felt something that had been put on another son's hands to make it seem like the right son was there, even though it was not. So there was something that seemed to be right, as the scriptures say, there's a way that seemeth right unto man, but the end of that thing is destruction. And so here was something that seemed right. The hand seemed right, but the timing and the voice both told him something's not quite right about the situation. You're being deceived. So one thing I thought that Yahuwah came, that it dawned on me. I said, because I have a tendency, I won't put it on you. I have a tendency to initially, shake my head at characters in the Bible. Like, why would you make this decision? Like, didn't you learn? Didn't you have enough? Until Yahuwah reminds me, and such were, not just were, but are some of you. David, you ain't no better. You make some of the same poor decisions. You also go against your better judgment. You doubt, you fear, you need 15, 20 confirmations just like they do. You allow laziness, procrastination, all kind of things to get in, either stop you from obeying me completely or delaying your obedience, which is almost equal to disobedience, because you're not doing what I said to the extent that I said it and when I said it. So yeah, you're doing me just like you did. Your mother would take out the garbage. You say, okay, I'm playing the game. Can I have 10 more minutes? Until she has to fuss at you and almost threaten you with a spanking before you actually go ahead and take out the garbage she told you to take out 2 hours ago, that you said will be 15 minutes ago. All right, so I just, yeah, I thought about that. He said, you didn't take enough time to do this. The voice doesn't sound right, but this seems to be your hands. But the hands are the hands of Esau, even though it wasn't. So he was going by just his sense of touch, which was deceiving him. And that's actually that Yahuwah just giving me that. So sometimes, people of Yah, our senses can deceive us to what the truth actually is. We're going based off what we see, what we hear, what we taste, what we feel, and don't let it be feeling for the emotions. Our senses can deceive us to the truth, or even, yeah, so reality, what seems to be reality, can deceive us from what the truth actually is. Sometimes we'll be presented with circumstantial evidence that will make something seem either favorable or not favorable when it's actually the opposite. But we're responding to what seems to be true and as opposed to what actually is true, and therefore we too often make bad decisions. So in this instance, Isaac was going off, even though he had evidence of the wrong timing and the evidence of his voice. We have two red flags already, but because the hand seemed right, he went against his better judgment and made an irrevocable decision. How many times have we done likewise, made irrevocable decisions, made some life, maybe even life-changing decisions that we just have to believe Yah to give us a miracle to get out of. We made something we have caused irreparable damage. We've put our foot in our mouth, we put egg on our own face because we acted according to what appeared to be and not what actually was. And particularly when it comes to like a relationship, or he or she look good, sound good, feel good, etc., etc. Even though the Holy Ghost is like, dude, warning, Will Robinson, warning, Will, warning, Will Robinson, dude. But because of the appearance, especially if they've been in church, the person been in church, and it don't have to be an intimate relationship. It could be a business relationship with another believer. But because the person knows Christianese, as I've heard it called, knows got a few scriptures under their belt, and they're eloquent, well spoken. Here we go shaking hands, making that covenant agreement for whatever kind of relationship we're about to enter into, even though the Holy Ghost is like, no, don't do it. No, sending you prophetic words, telling you stuff in your Bible study, sending you dreams and visions, but we're letting our natural senses override what the Ruach HaKodesh is telling us to do or not to do, the instructions he's given, the wisdom that he's trying to provide. So that was actually, yeah, just sharing more of my Bible study. That was actually a side note. Just to, yeah, that was a free one. Kind of just going, actually, that was more of the backdrop to how I got here. So the uh, the blessing has been given. Esau's is ticked off. He is highly upset to the point where he's like, you know what? Our dad is about to die any old way. So when dad dies, I'm taking Jacob out. That's how I'm gonna get my revenge on that one. No problem. I'm gonna, and some would say that that's even still the case, that the descendants of Esau, the Edomites as they're called, um, are still, that anger has passed down through the generations, and it still affects us as the seed of Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to this day, which is a lot of the reason why we are experiencing what we are experiencing. Per, like I said, some uh, I'll say the polls people. That's what is in a school of thought, is that this hatred prevails to this day, um, and even to the point where there are many. Well, yeah, many people are trying to figure out. Even though I think it could just be a lost cause because of all the intermingling that has taken place from then till now. Who are the Edomites? There are people who have their opinion, and they believe a convincing opinion about that. Um, I'm not really. Yeah, yeah. There are people who are, particularly if you talk to the Hebrew Israelites, the brothers who have all that zeal, but are kind of erroneous in their interpretation and in going about spreading the truth as they interpret it, very wrong way in many instances. Yeah, they have their opinion about the Edomites. Well, quite frankly, they believe the Edomites are white people. But from the studies I have done, I would say is you can't make that determination because there's been too much migration and interrelating, intermarriage, and the like, too much mixing of the peoples and tribes and nations to say, yeah, it's this particular people. Um, yeah, I'm not sure if we could ever even. It might take Yahusha to say, okay, these are the Edomites, but yeah, I would, as far as I can tell, that's not a determination anyone can really concretely make. But so yeah, yeah, Esau was like, okay, I'm gonna kill my brother. Rebecca heard about it, and she was like, okay, this is my favorite son. My husband likes Esau, but I like Jacob. So Jacob, you're gonna have to get up out of here. Uh, she made it's a long off briefly. Okay. Um, she said, Jacob, I'm gonna. She made up a reason to send Jacob away. Um, she made trying to protect her son. She didn't want to lose him, uh, lose her children. So she made up a reason to send them away. And so now we are on this journey, as it says. Then Jacob went on his journey and came into the land, of the people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field. And lo, there were three flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks, and a great stone was upon the well's mouth. So, and you all, like I said, y'all can help me help me as you can, because I could be really stretching things, making something out of nothing, or making something bigger out of something small. So you're welcome to help me out. But to me, this was prophetic. This was telling. Um, it says there were three flocks of sheep lying by it. And given that I'm paying more attention to everything that I read in the Word, I even believe that Yahuwah, by way of the Holy Spirit, stops me and says, "Check this out." Now, why did I describe this? Why did I name that? Why did I, it could have been five flocks, but why? So why three? So I'm asking a lot more questions. Like I said, it takes me a lot longer to study the Word now because I'm asking so many questions, and so I'm seeking so many answers. So that even maybe a scripture may be 5 words long, I may end up getting an hour's worth of revelation out of it that I haven't gotten before because of the time I'm taking to study. So he said there were three flocks of sheep lying by. So I'm going through my little my repository of biblical knowledge. I said, okay, three. What's about this three? And I concluded with, which I could be wrong, that when it came, I concluded with. Let me how do I bring this up to the front? I'm gonna have to. I may even make a. I'm going to make another slide. Copy, just so I can put this how big I want to. Let's copy, paste. And this is what I came up with. I'll say that instead of Yahuwah. I don't want to make it sound spiritual and be lying on the Ruach. Some of this is what he gave me. This is what I came up with though. After I went through with why it could be three flocks of sheep as opposed to one flock or 10 flocks or whatever. When the tribes were around the tabernacle, they were in groups. There were 4 groups divided into 3, as we can see here. You have the tabernacle in the middle, and then here's one quarter, here's another quarter, another quarter, another quarter. So to me, I said this could very well be that the reason why there were 3 flocks is because it was the camp, not just the tribe. Because in another, hold on, I'm sorry, let me see something here. Yeah, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by. So the southern kingdom, maybe it's easy for me to say it this way, was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Uh, so what I'm thinking is that, and particularly because it was primarily, if not exclusively, the tribe of Judah, Judah that went into captivity, um, that these three flocks, it was three flocks of sheep because that was representing the camp of Judah. So, like I said, if you want to help me out, if you have something to help me out with to make me see differently, better, then feel free. Um, so he looked, and behold, a well in the field, a well. No, here is water, here is sustenance, and they were lying by it. They were waiting for. Well, let me finish reading. For out of that well they watered the flocks, and there was a great stone that was upon the well's mouth. So the well, as how often have we heard the well of knowledge? Uh, there was a well, there was a sustenance that was blocked, uh, that was blocked, and they could not do it themselves, but they needed uh, a strength greater than themselves to take the stone away. We could even, as I read that, um, taking the, they took the stone away. I was like, oh, they rolled the stone away, kind of like Yahusha, huh? And which even opened up more because I know that Yahusha said, "I came not but for the lost sheep of Yasharel." Um, so knowing He came for us first, like I said, I'm taking to seek my biblical knowledge and trying to put some pieces together here, because it all sounds pretty prophetic to me. These things are not just natural occurrences, but they are symbolic instances deliberately orchestrated by Yahuwah to tell us a few messages all in one. Um, so, lo, there were three flocks of sheep lying by it. So we could say the tribe of Judah or the camp of Judah. But out of that well, they watered the flocks, and a great stone was upon the well's mouth. Um, and there were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. So something else I thought about, uh, the that spoke to me about the path that Israel was on. They came out of captivity, and they ended, I'm really going to encapsulate the whole history here, and they ended up in the promised land. They ended up doing good, and then until they messed up, and so they had access to Yahuwah, they had access to knowledge, to wisdom, to revelation. The prophets were speaking, and Yahuwah was for them until they started messing up, and then came 70 A.D. And just to refresh you, when the temple was destroyed, when things started going haywire, we had to flee our homeland. We ended up we had to be scattered, and since we have been scattered, so we were drinking of the well. I'm losing my cursor here. So we were drinking of the well, um, and they rolled it away. But then after we got watered, the stone was put back. So after we got water, after we had time with Yahuwah, because of our own bad decision, we ended up being scattered. So the well that used to sustain us, the well that used to water us, the well from which we got life, there was a stop on it. To the degree not only did we get thirsty, but even turn Ezekiel called a field of dry bones. So we're not just missing a little bit of water, but we have lost our complete selves. We have lost our complete knowledge of self. We are called. We've been going by what we're called all this time. Black people or African. Well, actually, first, Negro, colored, then Black, then African American. We've gone through about 4 or 5 different names since arriving here. Not to mention the racial epithets. Uh, And now, as the book of, I believe, Jubilee says, now we are remembering ourselves in the land of our captivity. Now, because as we believe that the 400-year curse that Yahuwah spoke to Abraham back in Genesis chapter 15, around verse 12 or 13, uh, has been, has been lifted because we've served our sentence now. Now knowledge is coming. Now we are realizing who we are and what that really means. Um, so yeah, but the stone was put back because of our own mess up. So like I said, I believe this is another part of I believe a foreshadowing that just looks like from on the surface level, it looks like it's just, the story about Jacob going to meet Rachel. But I believe it's also a foreshadowing. It's telling two stories in one. I'll say it like that. And Jacob said unto them, My brother, whence ye be? And they said, Of Haran are we. And he said unto them, Do you know ye Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. And he said unto them, Is he well? And they said, He is well. And behold, Rachel, his daughter, coming with the sheep. So again, using my knowledge and imagination, I'm not sure, maybe not enough or too much. When I said Rachel's the daughter is coming with the sheep, I went to Revelations 12, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. Um, the first shepherdess, she is shepherding, she is tending to uh, Yahuwah's sheep. Yahusha said, He come not but for the lost sheep of Yasharel. So, uh, using that as a bridge to go to Revelations 12, is that I was like, could it be that Rachel is representative, not saying that she is the woman in Revelation, but that the two are tied, that Rachel taking care of the father's sheep is likened them to, could be synonymous with this woman in Revelation 12, being the children of Israel, a woman figure with the nation of Israel. And as we know that there's a red dragon, just to give y'all even more context to Revelation 12, that she's waiting to birth a child. And I believe that child could be twofold. I believe it not only speaks of Yahusha, as Yahusha comes from the line of Israel, but even as we as Israel are waking up, even as we as Yasharel are becoming a nation, we're becoming a nation because we're getting our culture back. We've been a scattered people for ever since we got here. Even maybe before that, ever since we were exiled, because we weren't just scattered, here in America. We were scattered all literally, like you said, in the four corners of the earth, in Asia, in Europe, you name it. There's some of us that are there, and so you have these sheep that are scattered, but now that He's allowing us to, remember ourselves in the land of our captivity, we are becoming a nation. Like any other nation, we're getting our culture back. In the culture, we're getting our faith in Yahuwah back. We're getting back to the way. We're coming out of Babylonian / Western thinking, particularly religiously, and we're getting back to the way. Coming out of, for many of us, Christianity, and getting back to the way. Coming out of, changing our diets, changing what we eat, what we drink, how we entertain ourselves, getting our original language back, and realizing, who the Bible is to, by, and for. So we're getting our entire identity back. So as that's when you think about a nation, as a man of Yah on YouTube, his name is Pastor Chris Kelly. His channel is We Woke Now. He has this intro where he he gave this different people, and he asked the audience to, when I say the people, you give me the country. So he would say Chinese, and they would say China. He say German, they would say German, and he was able to do that for he did about, let's say, half dozen times. When he got to, then he said black, and everyone, they were ready to say a nation, they were ready to say a country of origin, but they couldn't because no one knows, or no one knew it at that time. And his point was, we have these people, but they're not a nation, because a nation, there is a country of origin, there's a place of origin, there's a place of residence, there is a culture, there is a language, a maybe a religion or a faith. There's a dietary, there's all these things I just mentioned. But for us, we've been making up as we go. And a good some of that is came down from our ancestors, from our place of origin as Yasharel, even though we didn't know it. And some of that we just been borrowing from everywhere else, as Yahuwah says in the Bible. We just been getting it from the Canaanites and the Americanites. I just made that word up. All these ites we've been around, we say, "Ooh, I think I like that. Ooh, that tastes good. That sounds good. That looks good. That feels good. I think now I'll adopt this." And and we'll, many times to our own detriment, we've been adopting other stuff, particularly when it comes to being accepted and trying to gain, for the sake of gaining resources, to get some level of success in this system that we're trying to live and survive in. We've been adopting, other ways. Even, we call it code switching now, trying to not only use their words, but even using their speech pattern, and their tonal inflections. Instead of, like, just saying, Mary had a little lamb, you might hear someone say, Mary had a little lamb, and it's supposed to go, as opposed to the period going down, as it's supposed to go, since it's ending, they'll go up, they'll stay up, like, okay, are you about to ask me a question, or what's going on? And because of some of that, when you spend a lot of time around someone else enough, sometimes their ways just naturally attached to you. But other times we deliberately have tried to take on different personas, the persona of the dominant, the persona of the successor, the persona, in our case, of the oppressor, for the sake of acceptance and gaining those resources. So I believe that Rachel and the woman in Revelation 12, that there's a correlation there. I don't have it down pat, admittedly, but I do believe there's a correlation there. Then in verse 7, and he said, "Lo, it is yet high day." And thank you, Prophet, for teaching us what a day is all about, what it really is, as opposed to what we've been taught. It is yet high day, the high part of the day. The sun is still out. The sun is at its high point of the day. Neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water the sheep and go and feed them. So I put it with these two verses. This is Daniel, forget what chapter. "But you, Daniel, shut up these words and seal the book until the time of the end. Lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered. Many will roam to and fro, and knowledge will increase. Then I, Daniel, looked and saw two others standing there, one on this bank of the river and the other on the opposite bank." So to me, knowing what I know about the word, about the scriptures, this is also saying, yes, the time is coming, quickly approaching, probably even faster than we think, for judgments to take place, and for what some of us are preparing, the second Exodus to occur. But it is yet high day. The sun has not set yet. Final judgment has not been placed. It is not time, if you will, for the cattle to be gathered. It is not time. It is not the time of our gathering is not now. So he said, water the sheep and go and feed them. So in the event that those of us who know about are expecting and preparing for the second Exodus, to me, this is Yahuwah saying, it is yet high day. There is still time. This is not a time for you to just sit around and twiddle your thumbs waiting on me to come back. This is not a time for you to put down all your dreams, all your visions, to throw away the investments that I placed in you. This is not that time. It is still high day. Yes, I am going to gather you, but it's not happening tomorrow. It may not even happen, we don't, we have an idea when it's going to happen. Many of us do believe it's going to happen around a particular Passover, maybe even in the next one or the one to come. Uh, but we also could be wrong about that. Uh, but just according to what we know, that's what many of us believe. Uh, just according to the signs that we've been shown in the revelation from the scripture. But this scripture to me, it also says it is yet high day. So as opposed to just sitting around and waiting on me to come back, and just chilling out. Uh, don't quit your job, don't sell your car and your house, don't empty your bank account and go on vacation. What I need you all to do, for those of you who are, first off, who are with me, but especially for those who you are awakened and know what the real deal is, I need you to water my sheep. I need you to go and feed them. I need for you to let the people know, family, friends, strangers, especially, I mean, everyone, but particularly Yasharel. It's time for people to know, particularly Yasharel, to know who Yasharel really is and what Yahuwah really wants from people, even Yasharel. What the word, what the true interpretation of the word is. What day should everyone be observing, and what day should they throw away? What food should they be ingesting? What food should they give away or throw in the garbage? What should they consider entertainment, and et cetera, all the things I've already said before. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's time for us to water the sheep. One thing in particular that I'm doing, Yahuwah maybe about a month ago told me to start a podcast. Um, and I've been working on that. I've been trying to, do my research, and well, not trying to. I have been doing my research, putting some things together, trying to see the best methods, uh, the best method techniques to go about doing that. And I think I have it down. I've recorded a few things already, but I think I'm going to need to do some re-recording. Just getting my ducks in a row. But one reason, along with watering his sheep and feeding them, one reason I believe he is having his people, particularly those of us who are awakened to the truth, um, to put together digital content. It is my belief, and I can't prove it one way or the other, but it's my belief that he is putting together a second Bible, if you will. He is putting together digital digital knowledge and wisdom. Like we have the Bible to go by. I believe that for those who are not willing to accept the truth, the actual truth, for those who insist on clinging to Babylon, either mentally and or physically, and for those for whom Babylon, America is just too much to let go, the sentimental value, the amenities, the conveniences, the quote unquote luxuries, all the tangibles, because admittedly, Babylon, America is not all bad. There are some things, even in our oppressed state, there are some things that we enjoy. There's some things that make life a little easier. We like the internet, and we like cell phones and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and and meaning, but especially those who aren't awakened, shrimp and lobster and caviar and calamari, and all that, all the stuff. So there'll be those who are not uh, going to reap the benefits, who may just miss the second Exodus. Um, and even for those who miss the second Exodus, may end up getting purged. Those who are involved, because he said the second Exodus is going to be in the wilderness for 3.5 years. There's going to be some purging, some cleansing. So just suffice it to say, what I'm boiling down to is for those who refuse to let go of Babylon, I think in Bernie Maxwell, there are going to be some consequences and repercussions. And they're going to go through some unnecessary hardships, and even those hardships which are necessary, they're going to be more difficult than necessary because they did not cling to the actual truth. They desired not to be awakened because Babylon was looking, sound, and feeling too good. They chose to keep the pillow of America, under the head and keep on sleeping. And so because of that, when the alarm clock goes off and you can't press snooze anymore, and it's time to put up or shut up, there's going to be, like I said, some consequences and repercussions. So I believe that podcast Yahuwah has instructed me to make, and whatever videos, whatever he's told you to do to get the word out on a broader scale beyond what used to be called Periscope, beyond our individual Zooms, beyond going live on Facebook, Instagram. He's like, hey, I need this to spread out. So when you're asleep, someone who's in Belgium, someone who's in Germany, someone who's in Australia can log on to YouTube, to Spotify, and they can hear the real revelation. They can get a clue, so that they don't have to partake in, they don't have to suffer those things that are up the road. So I believe that that's even, especially if after the second Exodus has occurred, and man, they were the transatlantic slave trade descendants. They really were Israel. Man, everybody's gone. Sometimes it may be our family or friends who are saying that, who chose not to accept the truth, and they're here and they realize that we up. You can't find us because we've gone on and we're enjoying Yahuwah and Yahusha, the benefits of and getting used to about to go to the wilderness. Speaking of the wilderness, Sukkot is coming up, and I believe that is not only a memorial but also a dress rehearsal. It's practice for the wilderness that's going to be taking place. Um, so yeah, that's so he's having us to make this content so when those who are left behind, uh, they'll have something to encourage them. Because I also believe it could be that there are no more written Bibles you can refer to, but there may be some electronic. I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing. Maybe the Bible by that time has been outlawed, so you can't have the Bible. But if you can still get to a laptop or have your phone out, you can still get to Spotify and the other places that have podcasts. So you can still get the messages, the wisdom, revelation that Yahuwah has given us, and you can say, "Oh wow, okay. So this is what happened, and because I missed it, this is how I need to proceed so that um, I can survive this time period." So yeah, we need to saying all that to say, water the sheep and go and feed them. Um, then we have Luke 21 and 24, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. All right, and I think I have. So this goes way into the story. Uh, Jacob's chosen sheep. Way about four. Well, actually, no. The very next chapter. Now Jacob is. He's met Rachel. Uh, he yeah, he's met Rachel. He is at Laban's house, her father. He has worked for, and Laban is doing him wrong. Laban changed tunes. He went to work for the wife he wanted for 7 years and ended up having to work for 21. And so there came a point where he said, "Okay, you choose what you want." Laban said, "You choose what you want, and that'll be your wages. That'll be how I pay you. Since I am, you're my nephew, but I don't mean you got to work for me for free. So choose what you want." And he said, verse 30. I mean, there was some other strife, but I'm just trying to, not telling the whole story, just for not to bore you, not to bore you. Uh, Genesis 30 and 32. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come. When it shall come for my hire before my face, every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. So again, it could very well be a stretch. But to me, the fact that there were spotted and speckled cattle. There were completely brown cattle, and there were white or pale cattle. And he says, I'm going to take the ones with color, and you can have the others. I think that was a message, given who Jacob is. Jacob turning to Yasharel, Yahuwah saying that he is the father of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And then Yaakov became Yasharel, which became us. I believe him choosing uh, the 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 cattle that had color on them was not just him making a random decision. I believe his decision was guided by the Ruach, and that he chose those on purpose, particularly since Yahusha said that I have come not except for the lost sheep. I really came for the lost sheep of Yasharel. Um, and uh, that is, let me see if I have, that is about the conclusion. Trying to think, see if I have anything else. While I'm looking to make sure I have anything else, anyone have anything they want to add? Any corrections, any clarity? And if not, it's cool. I'm actually going to stop sharing for the time being. Or I'll do some searching here. I had a couple other scriptures. I had another scripture up of when Yahuwah said that the Jerusalem will be trodden down by the Gentiles. Um, I just can't remember how I correlated that to. Right now, I can't remember how I put that together with what I'm talking about right now. Yep. So, as far as I can tell, that is that is kind of a double entendre. Revelation in Genesis, the revelation of Genesis, and like Revelation, the book itself, the content thereof, and the meaning thereof, that we can find, in my opinion, in the book of Genesis. As he said, he knows the ending from the beginning, and I believe he was. Now that we, just reading Genesis off the top, you would never be able to see that. But having the biblical knowledge that many of us have, um, now we can put some more dots together and say, oh, this probably means that. And I believe that's what he's allowed me to do this week, and I can share it with you. And that's about all she wrote. All right, so that was that episode again called Revelation of Genesis. I hope that you were blessed. I hope that you got some revelation that you hadn't thought of. Even hopefully that Yahuwah has spoken to you or will speak to you as he spoke to me and give you some additional revelation that I did not get, because we're all members of the same body as long as you accept Yahusha as your Messiah. And I hope to see you next time on another episode of Wake Up Yasharel. Thank you so much for listening, and you be blessed. Baruch atah.